The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on YouTube and on iTunes. Also on demand at my website, GaryBaumgarten.com, where we discuss a lot of very interesting things in the news and give you opportunity to comment. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. Well, we're distributed across the United States, coast to coast, into 12 million additional households. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. Today, we're going to talk about the showdown that occurred last week between Venezuela and Colombia. Both nations flexing their muscles a little bit, and how that was resolved and what that means for the future of South America. Before we get to that, Boaz, did you hear about the security breach on the El airline in Milan, in Italy?
I heard about it, I read about it, and let me tell you something, Gary. I'm worried about it because if somebody can use a spray can in the cargo hold of an El Al airline in a foreign airport, they could have done a lot worse than that.
Yeah, here's the thing. You and I were just bragging yesterday about how El Al's got this wonderful security. And then we find out that, now my understanding is, and from what I've seen of the procedure, when those planes are sitting at airports, foreign airports, the El Al planes, they are moved to an isolated part of the airfield, and they are guarded 24/7.
Well, not really, Gary. Actually, that's not accurate. Look, some of these flights have to turn around within the hour. They unload passengers and they immediately load. They don't have time to move the aircraft.
No, but I'm saying if the aircraft is staying at an airport, they move them to an isolated part of the airport and they keep them under guard.
Yes, and that they do if they're staying over 20, if they're staying overnight or for 7 or 8 hours.
So how the heck does somebody get to this plane? I mean, if they could spray paint, I believe it was "Death to Jews" on the inside of the cargo hold of an El Al airplane. That's right. What would prevent somebody from coming and sabotaging the flight? This is very serious indeed.
There seems to be I'll say it straight out. I've always praised the El Al security, but yes, there was certainly a breach in security here.
I think so, and they better find out what. I'm sure they will. Knowing them, I'm sure they will. This is very serious. Well, the entire airline is on a state of heightened alert as a result of this. So let's hope they figure out who screwed up or what. I mean, you can't control completely who's on the airfields either. That's something we didn't really get into yesterday when we were talking about airline security. But a lot of these people who have badges to get onto the airfield haven't been properly vetted.
Yeah, but you know what, Gary? I just want to make one quick point.
Yes.
From the point that an El Al airline, El Al airplane lands at a foreign airport, that airplane is guarded by El Al security exclusively from the point that they land to the point that they take off. That's the way it's supposed to be. But apparently, they messed up here.
Apparently so. Okay, today's topic is the Colombian-Venezuelan showdown. As you probably all know, last week, Colombia decided to encroach about 5 kilometers into neighboring Ecuador to a camp where rebel leaders and members of the FARC, F-A-R-C organization, which Colombia considers to be a terrorist organization of rebels within Colombia, were encamped and murdered probably in his sleep a leader of FARC. A gun battle ensued. The FARC rebels who survived fled. This caused for a breakdown of diplomatic relations between Colombia and Ecuador. Ecuador complaining that their sovereignty was violated by Colombia. And it caused for Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela, to get in the act, and he moved tanks on the border between Venezuela and Colombia and trained their guns at the Colombians. The Colombians decided to send troops to stare down the Venezuelan troops on the other side of the border, and the situation was quite tense. Of course, Colombia has long complained that Chavez is aligned with the FARC rebels. Chavez has tried to position himself as a negotiator to try to end certain impasses between FARC and Colombia. Then we move ahead to the weekend where all the presidents of the Latin American countries met in the Dominican Republic to discuss the crisis, and as a result, Venezuela did a stand down, Colombia did a stand down, the border reopened between Venezuela and Colombia. Colombia apologized to Ecuador for violating Ecuador's sovereignty. Ecuador has not, at this point, to my knowledge, restored diplomatic relations with Colombia. But the point is, a very tense situation was diffused by people holding hands and singing kumbaya, kumbaya, not quite, but by people who had vested interests in the situation, including the president of Argentina, several other neighboring heads of state, to sit down with them and diffuse the situation. And to me, this is a sign of how regional governments working together can really solve problems in the region, and is a textbook example of all that. But what led to all this? Why did Venezuela get involved? What's going on with Hugo Chavez? Is he really this menace? Is Colombia just the puppet of the United States, as Venezuela complains that it is? Well, Robert Naiman is our guest today. He is a senior policy analyst and national coordinator at Just Foreign Policy, and he is a writer for the Huffington Post. And he wrote at the time that the Colombian attack onto in Ecuador was a flagrant violation of Ecuador's sovereignty. Robert Naiman, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. So how did you like my synopsis? Would you agree with it?
I think it was a reasonable synopsis. I think, as was indicated in the piece that I wrote that you just cited, I don't think, I think it's beyond dispute that Colombia violated Ecuador's sovereignty. International law is clear on this point, and indeed, Colombia conceded that it violated Ecuador's sovereignty, and Colombia was condemned by governments across the region, including governments that don't have particularly warm relations with, say, Venezuela, like the government of Peru. No one would accuse them of being cozy with Venezuela, but they were very clear, in condemning Colombia's violation of Ecuador's sovereignty. So whatever we think about this, we should be clear on this fact that what Colombia did was a violation of international law. In fact, it was even indicated by Colombia's initial actions in trying to explain what they had done. They initially claimed